Stop me if this sounds like you. You've got a to-do list longer than your grocery list. You're trying to build your dream business or life on your lunch break. And rest means passing out at the end of the night when you literally just can't function anymore. You know you can't keep going like this, but you haven't hit burnout, so you're not in the danger zone yet, right? Wrong. You're giving it all you've got, but you're still just burning both ends of the candle without being as productive as you can. So what's the secret weapon you're missing? Taking intentional, effective breaks. I'm Janina, and I'm all about helping you organize your life so you can reach your goals without burnout. And today, I'm talking about why breaks are so crucial, the best and worst breaks to take, and how to actually incorporate them into your daily life. So let's get started. So I get that you want to squeeze every second out of your day. You've got a lot to do. But the science-backed truth is your brain is not meant to focus endlessly. So this is why breaks are so crucial. Breaks help give your prefrontal cortex a rest. And this is really important because your prefrontal cortex controls a lot of your cognitive functions, like decision making, impulse control, context switching, creativity, motivation, focus, memory, a lot. When you take a break, what you're actually doing is decreasing the cognitive load on your brain. And what that means is that it's going to decrease your stress levels, prevent decision fatigue, improve your memory, your motivation, your focus, your creativity, your productivity. Consider breaks as a form of self-care for your mind. So let me give you a couple of examples. So one study found that breaks could actually increase those aha moments that we all want. You know, the ones that you get in the shower? Well, breaks can help you increase the aha moments so that you can be more productive and more creative, all without hopping in the shower. And breaks don't have to be long to be effective. One study found that just taking 5 minutes to stand up and walk around actually lifted your mood, made you feel less tired, and improved your focus. Also, apparently, it helped decrease hunger pains, so that's pretty cool too. So here's the most powerful thing that I learned in my research. We know the prefrontal cortex, when it is overloaded, it increases decision fatigue. But that in turn leads to more simplistic decision making. And if you don't think that's important, listen to this. There was a study done with Israeli judges to look at their likelihood of whether they would grant parole to prisoners based off of when they actually took breaks. So the idea was they should be taking like 2 breaks, right? So when they haven't taken breaks yet, the longer that those judges went without taking a break, their chances of granting parole and saying yes went from 65 and decreased to 0. Those prisoners who encountered judges during those times had a significantly lower chance of getting parole. However, once the judges actually took a break, their likelihood of granting parole shot right back up to 65%. What the study found is that when you experience decision fatigue, you will pick the simplest answer. And for the judges, that was a no. And this is important because it shows that breaks are not just about how to be more motivated and how to get more done in less time, even though all of those things are important. But it shows that breaks can have a profound impact on the choices that you make. Choosing to take a break at the right moment could mean the difference between you making the best decision of your life and the worst. Okay, so now that we know how important breaks are, we want to get into the best and the worst breaks to take. But before we get started, if you like this video so far, give it a like. It helps support my channel and it tells me that you like this kind of content. Let's hop into break activities. Okay, so now that we know the power of breaks, let's talk about the most effective and ineffective breaks to take so that you get the most out of your time. Okay, so let's start with the worst breaks. So the worst breaks activities are going to be the things that overload your prefrontal cortex with too much decision making. So it's going to be doing things that are pretty much going to make you feel less in control and less focused and more negative emotions. Some of these can include things like reading and responding to emails, or surfing the net, or scrolling social media, a lot of screen related activities. If you don't think this applies to you, consider asking yourself a couple of questions the next time you're on a screen taking a break. So things like, how am I feeling in this moment? Is this something that's making me happy? Do I feel like I have control over the situation? Or am I just being fed things outside of my control? And this goes back to the whole idea that, bad breaks are the things that make you feel less in control and more negative emotions. So those are the things we want to stay away from. Another thing to note is that all of these bad break activities are pretty much screen related activities. So when you take time away from the screen, when you're taking a break, it is going to help decrease the stress on your mind, but it's also going to help decrease the stress on your eyes. So it's going to improve both your mind and your body, which is a good thing because we need to be careful about things like eye strain and blue light and stuff like that. Okay, so that was bad breaks. Let's get into good breaks. A good break is an activity that's going to help move the activity in your brain from one place to another. There's a couple different categories of good break activities, and the activities tend to fall into things that are creative, things that inspire movement, things that nourish your mind and body, and things that inspire socialization. Okay, so let's talk about creativity. A couple good break activities for creativity can be daydreaming, right? So you just kind of let your mind wander free and it kind of gets into the state of creativity and chaos, which can be really nice. I know chaos doesn't sound great, but it's actually pretty good for your brain. Another thing is just doing something creative, right? So maybe it's painting or drawing or photography or something like that. You want to do something that's going to switch activity from that logical left brain to your more creative right brain. Okay, so the next category is movement. There's obviously a lot of different ways to move your body, but don't think that you have to do a lot of movement to have an impact. Research found that you actually feel more inspired and creative while you're taking a walk, right? So get some more of those aha moments, right? Outside of the shower. But actually, after you've taken the walk, you also experience this like post walk creative afterglow, which sticks around. So you're not just going to be benefited from like physically moving your body and being creative right in that movement moment, but you're going to be positively impacted long afterwards, which is great. So, other ideas for movement can be things like going out and taking a walk in nature or walking in the city streets. The interesting thing about that is it can actually affect your state of mind, right? So, if you want to feel more calm, you want to go out into nature. But if you want to feel more active and energized, you want to take a walk in the city streets. So there's a study that looked at that, and that was pretty cool. The type of environment you're in can change the result that you're going to get from that activity. Okay, so let's move on to the next category, which is nourishing your mind and body. So this can be things like taking a healthy lunch or a healthy snack, right? You want to make sure that you're feeding your body and your mind. These can be things like meditation, which can be short, right? It doesn't have to be long. You can do things like mini meditations. You can also do things like deep breathing or taking a power nap. Oh, and listening to music is actually really good as well. And our last category is socialization activities. So this can be, taking a walk with a friend, calling someone in your family. Socialization activities are really great, especially when you have solitary work, because it just gives you that extra level of connection that can really help energize and inspire and center you. So that's it for good and bad break activities. And I'm curious, out of the ones that I've mentioned, were any of them your favorite? Or did I happen to not mention a break activity that was your favorite? Comment down below. I'm really curious to hear your answer. So now that we know some good break activities and we also know why breaks are so important, let's talk about how we can actually incorporate this in our daily lives so we can get the most bang for our buck today. So, first, let's talk about how long a break needs to be. So, we already know that research shows that you don't need to take like an hour break to have an impact. And one of the ways that you can work and be really impactful is following something called the Pomodoro technique. So, that is a series of 25-minute work sessions and 5-minute breaks. And after 4 to 5 sets of these, you then take a longer 20 to 30-minute break. So, this is really impactful because you are having shorter breaks and then you're following it with a much longer break. So, the thing that you need to note is that you can also adjust this for your needs. Maybe you don't have the time to take that 5-minute break, or maybe you don't have that time to take that longer 20 to 30-minute break. Even taking breaks as short as 1 minute can be impactful. So, consider how the Pomodoro technique can work for you and adjust the times accordingly. And given that I said that even a 1 minute break can be impactful if you're doing the right activities, remember that the next time you say to yourself, I just don't have time to take a break, because you do. Another crucial thing that you can do is schedule breaks just like you would schedule a meeting. And you may or may not feel comfortable putting this on your calendar, depending on what your work situation is like. But consider something like if you have a meeting and you've got a day of back to back meetings and you've got, say, 5 to 10 minutes between each meeting. It's highly unlikely that you're going to get any impactful work done. So instead, use that time to take a break. Stand up and take a walk around your office, or go grab a snack or some water, or have a mini meditation or something like that, or some deep breathing, just to help center you and align your focus, and energize you again. Okay, so let's talk about aligning breaks with your outcome. Because while it's great that we have all of these break activities, sometimes we want to achieve a very specific goal with our breaks. And we can do that by aligning the break activity with the outcome that we want. So, first off, if you want to feel more motivated, you want to take a break that involves movement. If you want to feel more productive, you want to take a break that's going to uh, activate a different part of your brain. So you might want to do something creative or to learn something new. And if you want to feel more creative, what you want to do is take a break that allows you to change up your environment, maybe consider going outside, right? To take that walk in nature or in the city streets. Let's talk about when not to take a break. I know this whole video is about how important breaks are, but there is a time when breaks are actually not going to be effective for you. And that's when you're in something called the flow state. So, when you are working on some sort of activity that really energizes you and you can work for long hours without being tired, you are actually putting your brain in what's called a flow state. And if you take a break, you're going to interrupt that flow state, which is actually not going to be helpful, because when you're in your flow state, you're actually like within peak productivity and peak focus and peak creativity. So the best thing to do in that situation is just to keep working as long as you're not feeling tired and you're not feeling any negative impact from the activities that you're doing. And then once you're done and you do start to feel a little tired, a little off, not quite as focused, that's the opportunity to take that break. And it's okay if your flow state lasts a while. Your flow state might be half an hour or it could be 3 hours. Just let your brain and your body tell you what's best for you. And lastly, let's talk about what happens when you actually can't take a break. Sometimes your situation means that you don't have control over your time in that moment or the activities that you can do. So you can't actually physically step away and do something that's not work related. So, what do you do in these instances? What you want to do is switch to an activity that's still work related, but that is going to exercise a different part of your brain. So, for example, like, say you're doing a lot of solitary work. Maybe instead you switch to an activity that's more collaborative, right? So, like brainstorming with a group or planning something. Another thing that you can do is that if you have activities that involve like writing documentation, right? You might be able to switch to something a little bit more creative, like designing something, right? It all depends on the kind of job that you have. Now, doing these types of activities is not going to give you all of the break benefits that you can have when you take like the most effective types of breaks, but it is going to give you a little something and like refill that energy cup. So sometimes doing a little something is better than doing nothing at all. So consider that if you have certain restrictions that don't allow you to take breaks in a way that would be most impactful to you. And that's it. Hopefully this video inspired you to incorporate more breaks into your life and gave you some ideas for good break activities that you can take. And if you're struggling to stay focused, check out this video above, also linked below. It'll give you a 3-step method for how you can reclaim your attention and energy fast. Thank you for watching this video, and if you're interested in seeing how I use planning and productivity to help design the life that I want and how you can too, consider subscribing to my channel. Until we meet again, bye!